this is a good start. Hello, UK Crime Book Club. Thank you for joining us on this Friday night. Friday? Is it Friday, Rob?
Yes.
The lovely Rob Gittins. I'm so excited. I've waited months for this interview. We're going to talk about Can I Trust You, which is, should we both show our copies? Expertly done. Do you want to tell us a little bit about it?
Can I Trust You? Yeah, of course. Obviously published this week by the fabulous Holbeck Books.
Congratulations.
It's got a sort of interesting backstory, and I don't know if you want me to go into that straight away.
Not straight away. Let's wait for people to join us. I'm gonna hold back on that because it's a blooming brilliant story.
Of course, but just to say, it's sort of which is a bit unusual for me in a sense. It is based on a real life story in a way, because an awful lot of stories come out of the ether or imagination, or you read in a paper, but this came out of something which directly happened to me. So, but let's talk about that later.
Just tagging in some more members. Some have already joined us. So,
okay.
Hello, lovely Donna and Sarah. Lovely to have you with us already. So, I loved this book. I know you've been on publication week. So, how's that been so far?
Well, people have been incredibly generous. In fact, I think a couple of the people you mentioned, and I'm so nervous about these things because I still feel kind of very, very new to this world.
Which is bizarre, isn't it? You've been writing for so long.
Yeah, but in different spheres and different things. And I think in many ways the book community is not quite the same as I work an awful lot in TV drama and film and that tends to be kind of populated by quite unpleasant people. But the book community seems to be kind of quite different. And no, I've been really struck this week by, it's not only the fact that we've had very positive reviews, which is fantastic. They've been very insightful as well. They've sort of like picked up on different things, and yeah, so far, fingers crossed, it's been okay.
Excuse me. Donna says you have a very twisty, devious mind, and we were talking before, weren't we? Before we started, and I said I actually gasped at points during this book. There's so much we can't talk about, and there's so much we will be able to get into, but you do have a very twisty, devious mind. You're so mean.
Especially from Donna, I will take that as an absolute compliment.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think that's that's great. It's like anything else. I mean, in a sense, what it's like. It's all about misdirects, particularly in kind of these kind of stories. Yeah. It's all about how can I just try and take somebody to the end of the story, and when they get there, they think, okay, I didn't see it, but it makes sense.
Yeah. And that's exactly it. That's exactly how I felt. Guy Hales just said hello. Sorry, Guy, I was supposed to message you half an hour ago. I apologise. Sarah says the book was unputdownable, and Donna said she'll add it to the review. I like that. So let's talk about Axel before we get into where the whole story idea came from. Axel's brilliant. What a character. Because a story like this, where there's been a child missing for 20 years, so obviously, well, not a child, their child, but an adult. Cara's been missing for 20 years, and then 20 years to the day on the anniversary, Penny goes missing, and Axel is the last person to have seen both of them.
Yes.
And I thought, the thing that really struck me was you don't get many of these stories where it's the father's point of view.
Yeah.
So he can't kind of know what everybody's thinking about him, but he can only act in a way that he feels is, well, the right way to act in each situation. Yeah. It doesn't always make the best decisions because he's acting on impulse, the way any one of us do. You just had me gripped through the whole thing. And I think Axel is a terrific character. He's so fully rounded. Mm-hmm. There's so much to like about him. And we go through the story not knowing what's happened and not knowing, and we will not spoil any of it, obviously. But yeah, he must have been such a pleasure to write, to develop him.
Yeah, yes, he was, and for some reason, right from the start, and I don't really know. Maybe I do know why. And it sounds like an unlikely choice of career for a hero in a thriller, but I wanted him to be an antiquarian and second-hand bookseller.
Yeah.
Which it does sound a bit counterintuitive in a way, but I was very, very keen that there was something about his relationship with books that would take him through the story, if you like.
Yeah.
And also because he spends an awful lot of time with books, he deals in books, he sells books, he reads books, he collects books. And I spent a lot of time talking to book collectors and booksellers while I was doing this. There's also that sense that you've got a character who escapes into the imagination, which on the one hand is really nice, but on the other hand, can you totally trust him? Is he telling stories? Is everything he's saying absolute fact, or is it, or is he spinning a web? Is he creating a fiction, if you like? And I suppose that was also, you know, part of the appeal of Axel for me as well. Is you know, is who is he really?
I did love, in particular, the snippets of the relationship he has or had previously with his ex-wife Donna, Cara's mum.
Yes.
So obviously books were a big part of their lives together as well. There was it made me wonder how many of these bookshops in the book you've actually visited, how many of these books you've held and examined, because the way it's written is as though this is your beloved treasure.
Yes.
You know, and that really came through. So are you that good, or have you visited everywhere and you're that good based on your experience?
Yeah, I suspect I'm like every single person on this show tonight. I devour bookshops. I love bookshops. And I'm looking now around my bookshelves, and I've got things like 100 best bookshops to visit in Britain, and I've got I can hold them up. It's ridiculous. And of course they close all the time. But there's something about physical bookshops which I adore. There are two which I credit at the end of the book in the acknowledgements, which were particularly important for this. One is Shakespeare and Company, which is in Paris, and the other one is Peter Harrington in London. And I spent a lot of time in both those bookshops, and I lent very heavily on the research they provided for me. I mean, genuinely, that was, and it was one of the joys of writing it, was that you could write a sort of a thriller story, but it's basically set in bookshops.
We've just had hello from the Beck of Hobeck.
Right.
So hello, Rebecca Collins.
Yes.
And Leslie Lloyd as well. Me and Donna want to go to the bookshop, that particular one. Donna and I would like to visit that bookshop. So is it based on a real bookshop?
Well, oddly enough, now the Bex is here, who I suppose is technically my boss. She says that she knows the bookshop. In fact, she's totally wrong. It's not that bookshop, but there was a bookshop. I live in the very, very far west of Wales. I'm not from this part of the world, but it's where I live now. And there was a bookshop, oddly enough, in a village about 3 miles away from me, made famous by Dylan Thomas, called Larne. And there was a bookshop in there, which was this extraordinary cavern of tunnels and caves. And I never explored it all. I think it's closed now, but I suppose that was the closest I've got to what was Axel's bookshop, with his kind of, you know, with all those different tunnels and books everywhere.
Rebecca's laughing at boss, haha. I know we have to get to this question, and I've been
Yes.
wanting to save it because it's such a good story. But I think now is the time, Rob. So, Mr. Gittins, where did the idea for this story come from? Oh, it's such a good story. Oh my word.
Well, thanks for the build-up, Sam.
Yeah, sorry, no pressure, mate.
No pressure whatsoever. Okay. Okay, look, I mean, this is, it'll take about 2 or 3 minutes, but I'll do it very, very quickly.
No. You go for it. Don't leave anything out. I got the full unabridged version on the phone, and it's just genius.
Okay.
Because anyway, yeah, carry on.
Yeah, it's sort of at times it's a story that doesn't reflect too well on me, but anyway, there we go. Look, this is at its heart, it's simple. I mean, I think every single person here tonight has had what if moments, like what if, and this is mine, right? So a few years ago, I'm traveling back on a train back to my home. As I said before, I live in quite a remote part of the world, and as the train approaches the last halt, my station, there's just 2 people in the carriage, and there's me, and there's this young girl, and she's, I don't know, late teens, early 20s. She's got a backpack, and we get talking. And she tells me she's in the area on holiday and she's staying with friends, actually, in a village not far from mine. And I give her some tips on, like, there's a few sites to see, a few things she could check out while she's here. And that was that. That's all it was. We get to the station, we get off the train. I go to my car, which is parked in the car park opposite. And as I'm getting into my car, I can hear her on the phone. And she's trying to get a taxi. But it's obvious from her side of the conversation, there's no taxis. Apparently there's some big event. There's only 4 taxis in my hometown anyway. And they're all away at some event at a race course somewhere. I don't know. And then she says on the phone, well, what about buses? Well, I know. This is a small rural halt. It's now 9 o'clock at night. It's getting dark. The last bus leaves the station at 8 o'clock. And I know where she's going to go because she told me. It's about 4 miles away. She's going to face about an hour and a half walk along unlit country roads to get where she wants to go. And now I'm thinking, well, what do I do? But I go back, and I remember that as I approached her, I kind of put my hands up in this sort of surrender gesture. And I said, look, I mean, I heard you. And I thought, oh my God, I wasn't listening. I wasn't listening to what you were saying. I just happened to hear you. I said, look, I know where you're going. I passed that village on my way home. Do you want a lift? And I'm feeling quite sorry for her in a way because she's looking at me and she's now thinking, what do I do? And anyway, she said, yes. She said, yeah, okay. So we get in my car. It's about a 15-minute drive, something like that. We just chat on the journey. As we get to the village, which is off the road down a small lane, I say, where are you staying? What house is it? And she said, no, just drop me top of the lane. I can see the house anyways, no problems. And actually, at the time, I thought that was quite a sensible precaution. I mean, she trusted me enough to get in my car, but she didn't want this total stranger to know exactly where she was staying.
Yeah.
Okay, so absolutely fine. I said, yeah, no problems at all. So top of the lane, there's the houses down there. She gets out. I say, have a good holiday. She says, fantastic, thanks to the lift. And off I go. And I go home. I don't think anything about it at all. The next day, I'm going back to the station to get another train. And as I approach the lane where I dropped her the previous night, I can see scenes of crime tape, which are cordoning off the lane. And a uniformed policeman is standing by it. There's a white police van behind him. And there's 2 white-coated forensic police officers there as well. And I'm like, what the hell? So I stop And I say, has something happened? And he says, yeah. He says, a young girl was very seriously assaulted here late last night, and she's in hospital. And in that moment, I'm like, it's not like just me that's holding my breath. It's like the whole world is holding its breath, because I dropped a young girl at that spot the previous evening. Her DNA has to be all over my car. There's no witnesses to my story that I just dropped her off and then drove away. And what's the very first thing I've done the next morning? I've returned to the scene of the crime. And all that like flashes through my head in like a second or 2 seconds. And then I'm aware of this, the cop leaning into my car and saying, by the way, so why you stopped? Say, and that is the starting point of the book, because it's about the moment that lives change forever. Now, in real life, the girl who'd been attacked, and it was a very, very serious domestic assault, very serious. In fact, at that time, they thought it might be a potential murder. She was not the girl I met on the train. I mean, she was from a different house and a different whatever it may be. That was that. As far as I know, the girl that I met went on to enjoy an otherwise uneventful holiday. But what if she had been that girl?
Yeah.
And I was obviously not taken in that morning for a crime I didn't commit. But what if I had been? And I've sort of carried that moment around with me for years, really. And that is the starting point of Can I Trust You? And it does involve Axel, who is the hero, giving exactly the same lift to a young girl. And then a problem happens.
And honestly, when I was reading it, all I could hear was you telling me the story and us giggling about it, because we knew that the real version. So I might have seemed a bit. I couldn't not laugh halfway through because I knew what was coming. And I must have sounded mean when you started saying that somebody had been attacked, but I knew it wasn't the same person.
No.
It's just, it's such a genius kind of origin story, really. Your what if?
I didn't choose it. It was sort of it was absolutely, it was, and I suppose this happened a few years ago, but I do keep trying to think, well, look, if it had been that girl, now I know I didn't do it. Okay, yeah. I know I didn't do it, and you have to take me on trust because I'm a nice guy, honestly. Okay, but you know, if the girl, God bless her, had died and could never say who'd attacked her, if the person who'd attacked her had never come forward, and why should they come forward? You know, that there's only one name in the frame, and that's me.
Yep.
And all I did was take a girl back. So I find it fascinating. I mean, that was my what if moment, if you like. But I do find it fascinating, those kind of like those moments when a life just literally goes from that to that.
That whole sliding doors thing, 2 decisions, 2 outcomes.
Totally. If I hadn't gone back that night and said, do you want to live? Because actually, even as I was doing it, even as I was going back, I was aware how dodgy it looked. A middle-aged man approaching a teenage girl in a car park and saying, do you want a lift? Now, I know I did it because she was a young girl on her own with no means of getting where she wanted to get to that night. Yeah. But you just twist that prism through a very, very few degrees and you're thinking, this guy's weird, you know?
You must not give off weirdo vibes in person. You definitely don't on camera. You don't on the phone. I'm guessing you don't in person either. The thing is,
Aspect.
though, we did agree a plan of action, didn't we, Rob? That what do you do if this situation presents itself again? Do you remember what we agreed?
No, I can't. What did you say?
That you would show her some proof of ID that she could show to the person at the other end,
Yes.
so she knew who she was getting in the car with.
Yes. Yes, you're absolutely right. The next time this happens,
Or, I mean, if you live in the middle of nowhere, is there a small police constabulary nearby?
No, I think that probably actually, and you know something, looking back on it, Sam, genuinely, she might have been doing this because all the time that she was walking towards the car, she was on a mobile when I approached her because she was trying to find whatever it may be. And she had her mobile in her hand all the time. She said, yes, I'll get in your car.
Yeah.
All the time she was walking back to my car, she still had her mobile in her hand. And I'm wondering now whether what she was doing was photographing my registration number.
Well, that
And
would have been the smart thing to do, wouldn't it?
yeah. And it never occurred to me at the time until you said that. But
Yeah.
actually, maybe what she was doing was she was photographing my registration number, and she was on her phone when she was in the car, and maybe she was texting wherever she was going to say, look, I'm in the car with this bald, ugly guy, and look, you've got to kind of like, just in case. Then, but maybe that's
Well,
what.
even that could have been your what if moments added to it. Well, you didn't stop. You drove past thinking, oh my word, oh my word, oh my word, what's going on?
Yeah.
But then somebody recognised you driving past the scene and thinks, that's the guy that's been reported that we're looking for.
Yeah.
You could have had sirens behind you.
I know. It's like
all for a good deed from a
actually,
nice guy.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've supplied a scene I didn't write, and I wish I had.
I don't think it needed that scene. No, I think you're good. Absolutely good. Somebody said you are not weird. They must be talking to you. Yeah, it's Rebecca talking to you, not me.
Right.
So somebody's written, let me see if I can find out who it is. I can't see it here, but somebody said, I have to say, when I read the first part of Can I Trust You?
Yeah.
I felt how real it was. And that's what I felt. I know I'd heard the story of how the idea came about, but it just surprised me at different levels all the way through. When did you, when you sat down to write it, was it with just this one idea in your head? At what point did you decide to kind of have the dual timeline? Because it was a really clever way of looking at the past and the future, at the past and the present, 20 years ago and now, and kind of joining it all. And because of how it was written, I missed so much. It's so well written, but you're focusing on the bit that you're on. And you're thinking about the bits from that time period, and then you in the other time period, and you're thinking about those bits. And I missed everything that you planted, and it was only after I sat back at the end and was like, oh, that's when I saw it all laid out in front of me.
Great. Yeah, it's a tricky one. There's an awful lot of writers, including you, Sam, here tonight, and I think we all know.
I don't know that we can call me that yet. We'll see.
Yeah, we can. I think we all know that how this process works. I mean, you carry something around, and maybe it's just me, and it needs time to kind of settle. It needs time to kind of ferment, I suppose, if you like. And I think the point about that is that obviously, to me, it was a very powerful starting point. But every time I thought about it, I kept thinking, I'm not sure if it's strong enough by itself. Because if the character is the character I think he is an antiquarian, and I wanted him to be a bookseller. He's an antiquarian bookseller who's never been in trouble with the police. It's whatever. And then it came together with, what if it's not the first time? What if it's not the first time a young girl's gone missing in his life? And then it is, what if that's his daughter? And then what if that has never been solved? And what if, in the present day disappearance, there is a way of solving the 20-year-old mystery about his daughter? So that's when the fiction takes over,
Yeah.
if you like. So that really was the point of the kind of the dual timescales, is just to try and add that layer of hopefully richness to the story, and so it's not just a present day miscarriage of justice, which is fine. It could have been, but it sort of connects back much deeper into his life, if you like. Does that make
Yeah, I think the whole present day miscarriage of justice would have been a completely different book.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't have scratched the surface of this one.
Yeah, it's a little bit like in a different field. There's a film called The Fugitive, with Richard Kimball, played by Harrison Ford, who checks into a hotel room in Paris. His wife goes missing, and all of a sudden it's like he's just switched into a different parallel universe. And it all takes place in the present, if you like. And we sort of could have done that, and I think that really worked in a film, but or on TV. But I think, especially in a book, I just love the idea that actually there is something about the past which is informing the present, and there's something about the present which will change the past. It seemed to me quite a rich theme, if you like. You know, although I've got to say, I am aware, and that there are people who find the dual timescales sometimes irritating.
Oh, I love them.
Well, okay, great. I do too, but I do take the point that people sometimes just, oh, come on, you know, I'm going backwards and forwards.
But you handle it so well as two separate things that it really doesn't matter that the two different timelines 20 years apart. Yeah, I don't think I really love, I mean, you've ticked, you know, you're ticking all the boxes. I love cold cases, things where there's close family and friends and they're a really tight-knit group always does something for me. I love that when it's like it is in real life, people can really lean on each other.
Yeah.
The way that they do. They all really support each other. Dual timelines, I think, are brilliant because you get to see people at very different stages of their lives. Even though the central theme is two missing girls 20 years apart, you're seeing so much. At any point, did you think that Axel wasn't going to be the protagonist? Did you consider kind of it being Donna instead of Axel, or did you always know? I know that you knew he was a character you wanted to write. Did you know he was going to be your main person throughout?
Yeah, I think I did. And it wasn't just because, you know, he's a guy and I'm a guy as well, because some other books I've written have actually very, very firmly put female characters at the lead. I thought there was a sort of a helplessness in Axel, which I liked as well. And also, I think it was very, very closely related to his occupation. It's like there's something in the book in which I think a character does say that they remember something Axel said, which is that actually books will always lead you through.
Yeah.
That there is something in the books behind you that will give you a path, a map to resolve things. In fact, at a certain point in Can I Trust You, a key plot is facilitated by Edgar Allan Poe. Actually, even though it's not him, obviously, but one of his books. And I think that's the thing about him, is because I've very firmly had him and his occupation in mind. And it is, going back to your earlier question, very much based upon the people in antiquarian bookshops that I've called into, who are such gentle souls and slightly barking mad at the same time, you know? And
are you telling me I should open a bookshop?
Listen, me, you, Donna, Sarah, everybody, right? We should take it in turns to kind of staff it and things,
I was
and
going to
get
say, there's enough of us. We could do one day every 2
Yes,
years.
exactly.
That'd work.
Yeah. The problem is we probably wouldn't sell any books because we say, no, you can't have that one. Now I want to read that one.
Rebecca Collins said, where is it? Every now and then I smell something or see something. It takes me back to a time in the past. It feels so real. Now, I thought there's different. I don't know if anybody else does this, but there were different stages to the smell I got from the bookshop.
Right.
So you've got the front bit when you go in,
Yes.
which is the main bit,
Yes.
visible from the front, the bit that would have the air because everyone's in and out all day, you
Yes.
hope.
Yes.
You know, lots of people in and out buying books. And then you go through the tunnels.
Yes.
And there's a little bit less air and a little bit more of a booky smell.
Yes.
And then you go into the actual cave that's, you know, it's got the cave cavern. There's no natural air. It's protecting the most valuable books.
Yes.
Every single one in my head has a different smell as I was reading it.
Yeah.
And then we've got the smells of going to the beach. You've got the smell of being around trees. You know, there's.
Yes.
I thought I was very visual, as in I can see scenes, but actually I think what's more vivid for me is the smells of the bookshop.
Yeah.
So I wonder if is that just me? Am I odd? Did you have a sense of smell from things as you wrote them? Because it's your words that have brought these smells, these scents to life for me.
Yeah, absolutely hitting on the head, to be honest with you. Very, very much so. And that's exactly how I kind of saw it, is the fact that, yes, of course, you've got this kind of reception area with, you know, whatever it may be, and books, which looks like a conventional bookshop. It could be a Waterstones, it could be a small, whatever it may be. Once you go down these kind of tunnels, and as I said, it is based upon a bookshop I do know. Yeah, it's very enclosed, and it's that sort of slightly mildewed but slightly fusty smell you might get, or whatever it may be. Once you get into the rare books room with the dehumidifiers, and I've seen one of those. It's extraordinary. It's like a cathedral. It's sort of very much everything's at an even temperature, and nothing, you know, there's different locks on the doors to preserve the temperatures, and there is no smell at all. It is complete. It's like an operating theatre.
Wow.
If you like. It's with air being replenished every 90 seconds or something like that. And that's where the rarest books are, which could be, you know, I mean, £50,000 or whatever it may be. So yeah, no, very, very, very much so. There's very different stages for that bookshop, from, you know, a reception where you're going to buy Harry Potter or Rob Gittins or Sam Brownlee or whatever it may be, and you know, sort of like paperbacks and hardbacks and stuff, which are kind of contemporary to different you know, different books.
Maureen Mind just joined us as well, another Holbeck author. So good evening, Maureen. Donna says it's used in you.
Yes.
Oh, that guy kills people too. Maybe being around books is more dangerous than it
seems. Donna is absolutely right, and that is one of the images that I had in my mind. Not quite the same, because that was used to house kidnap victims, and I don't do that. Okay.
Oh, so Joe Goldberg's
yes.
glass box.
Yes.
Is that where the books should be stored?
Yes. Oh, completely. Absolutely. And that was his killing machine, if you like.
Maybe we do need to back away from you slowly.
I won't give any kind of spoilers away, obviously, but honestly, my hero does not kill people in the rare books room. Okay, I mean that doesn't take place. But no, Donna is absolutely right. That is the classic rare books room, with the capsules and everything like that. And I mean, they don't just exist in Netflix dramas. They are real.
That's terrifying.
Yes.
Right, I wrote down a quote because I'm giggling because Donna was she was trying to figure out what somebody had put when they'd put CITY in capitals, obviously spell city. Donna, the reason I got it straight away is because I went to save an image of "Can I trust you" the other day, and as I typed in "Can I trust you," it was city, and I got it straight away. But she was confused for a minute. But I would have been had I not done the same thing.
It's true. Can I just say like, a tiny thing is that that's the abbreviation is city, obviously. I'm from Manchester originally, which is your hometown as well.
It is,
Sam,
where I've spent the day with Kaz today.
And Man City is my team. It's nothing to do with the title of the book, but the other Holbeck parent, which is Adrian Hobart, is a massive Manchester United fan. I am so pleased that he has brought out a book with the abbreviation of City, and I don't think he realised that. And if he had realised it, he might not have signed the contract.
Maureen's in Manchester tonight.
Right.
I'm intrigued to know what you're up to, Maureen, if you don't mind me asking, seeing as you told me where you are. Somebody said Rob is starting to sound like the guilty party. This book could be an autobiography. And it's Guy Hale. I had a feeling it might be Guy. It sounds very Guy-esque. It did make me chuckle when I started typing it, and it was City. I'm not really either. I suppose I'd lean towards United, sorry. But could I even name one player these days? I mean, I've not a clue.
Right.
I wrote down a quote.
Yeah.
Pink post-it note, because I had it stuck in the book, actually, and then I thought, no, I'll just put it in front of me. There's a quote from DC Daniel Adams. This is from 20 years ago. And, is it about? It could be about him. Oh, see, I should have written a better note. He either said it or it's about him. He looks as if someone's thrown a whole array of mismatched clothes at him. It's about Dan Adams.
Yeah.
This morning, and he's walked away in the ones that have somehow stuck, and it really made me giggle because I feel like that is my attire generally. I was walking around the other day in this kind of maxi dress that's multicolored because it's really comfy, then this like oversized cardigan thing over the top, and granddad slippers, actual slippers that my granddad would have worn. You know, when you kind of walk past a mirror and look at yourself and you think, oh. Yeah. And then I read that, and it was within a couple of hours of me looking at myself in the mirror. I thought, right, okay. And then Guy sent me a really rather funny video before, which we won't share, about pretty much the same thing. I dress like nobody owns me, effectively. I just pull on something clean. I really don't bother unless I'm leaving the house. Getting all the secrets here. Yeah, Oxfam chic. Yeah, that is me. Looks like I've run through. That's Guy as well. Looks like I've run through a clothing rail.
Yeah, are you going to stand up and give us a look?
Oh, no, I'm all right at the moment. I've got a nice scarf on. I've put a nice top on with my jeans. My trainers have seen better days, but they're so comfy.
I believe you, honestly.
Thousands wouldn't. Sarah's saying she's with you with me with the comfy clothes.
Yeah.
So little things like that, little snippets that really give you such an insight into the character. She says, thinking what it says about me. It's such a nice little touch. And we really do need to talk about your other stuff as well, because we've been talking about Can I Trust You for 40 minutes so far, which is really, it's good though, because it's really hard to talk about a book like this without giving anything away.
Right.
You've got so much other... There's so much of the detail in it that we can discuss so many things and still not even scratch the surface of the book, which is it shows the quality of it.
That's really kind of you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
So do you think we should talk about some of the TV and radio stuff?
Whatever, Sam, whatever you want to talk about is absolutely
fine. Can we talk about Tracy Beaker?
Yes.
So Tracy Beaker, I have a signed copy from when I met Jacqueline Wilson at Swinton Lancastrian Library when I was like 9 or 10 years old.
Really?
And there's something magical about her. Yeah, there really is. And I loved that. And even probably 5 or 6 years ago on holiday, we sat and watched, can't think what it's called, I'll Google it in a minute. All afternoon, like all of us different ages, just sat and watched the Jacqueline Wilson kind of kids series.
Yeah.
And it was brilliant. And we were just enthralled. And it was a really lovely way to spend a Saturday afternoon on holiday. It was really nice.
Yeah.
But Tracy Beaker, talk to me. Tell me anything.
Well, yeah, Tracy Beaker. It's with a different hat on. I've written lots of TV, and film and stuff, and I suppose
kind of reads like my watch list of things that I've watched. Your biography.
It's I think of everything, because I've written. I mean, I've written EastEnders, Casualty, The Bill, Vera, Soldier, Heartbeat, whatever it may be. I think of everything I've written, Tracy Beaker was the absolute hardest.
Really?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Is this the whole thing of people think the writing for kids is easy, and actually it's anything but?
Yes, absolutely. There's so many writers who will go into kind of kids TV and think, "Oh, just about kids TV. It's just kids. What the heck? What? Oh, it was. I mean, I loved doing it, but it was one of the hardest things to try and get right, and also to try and to realize how fast children's minds work as opposed to adults' minds, and how quickly they get bored.
Yeah.
I can. In EastEnders, The Bill, in Casualty, in Vera, I can build in pauses, and I sort of know the audience will go with me with the pauses. I can't do anything like that with something like Tracy Beaker. And I have 6 grandchildren, 6 grandsons, all boys actually, and I can see it with them. It's you're trying to kind of talk, you're trying to do a story, whatever it may be, unless you literally get the attention right with it, that they're gone within 10 seconds, whatever it may be. And that was the same with that. And it wasn't just an attention span. I found it fascinating. I really did. And I'm not absolutely 100% certain that I brought it off. But it was a different way of telling a story. It's a little bit like I write radio plays as well. And radio plays are again so quick, because you take in information through the ears far faster than you take it through the eyes. So if I try to tell a story incredibly quickly on TV, people just like blink in adult TV. They can't quite take it in. On radio, I can go to outer space. I can go back there. I can go back there, go back there. And it's almost the same as children's TV. They seem to take things in so much quicker than we do. And it was trying to plug into that with Tracy Beaker. So that's quite a technical answer.
No, it's a great answer.
Because you probably want to know, well, what's Danny Harmer like? What's this like? But
how true to the? Well, I'm going to say how true to the books with the TV episodes, but you've got such a gap, I would imagine, between the book as a whole and any subsequent books, but then the things that you have to put in there, but there must be so much that isn't written that you have to figure out as well.
Yeah, I mean, the problem you got with Tracy Beaker, well, there were 2 problems, is that because I went on in the first series, I think it was, there was basically just 1 book. So actually they ran out.
The story of Tracy Beaker, it's the one I've got signed.
Yeah, they just ran out of stories very, very, very quickly. So the problem was then the writers had to come in and invent stories, but make sure that the stories were faithful to what was an extraordinarily good book, which was the story of Tracy Beaker. The second problem, which was something the producers never, ever counted on, was, what do you do when you've got a thing called the story of Tracy Beaker when Tracy Beaker grows up? It's like you've got a hit show, but Tracy Beaker is now 18 or 19 or 20. So
I tried to think how old Danny Harmon is now.
Well, she must be in her 30s, surely.
That's devastating.
I know.
Somebody Google it.
I know. And I think then they reinvented it as the dumping ground or something like that. But it was...
it was the dumping ground. That was the name for the care home, Yeah,
I think the success of it, and it's a very, very well-deserved success. And honestly, it's really kind of you, but I'm a very small part of that. Very, very small part. And lots of other writers had a great deal more to do with the success of that show than me.
Well, let's go right to the other end then. EastEnders, not a very small part of that, I've learned.
No, I suppose not. In fact, this week, we are planning.
Sorry, somebody's written Tracy goes hitchhiking in West Wales and was never seen again. Guy.
Yeah, she meets a guy on a train.
So come on, back to EastEnders.
Yeah, second time round, folks. I did it again.
20 years apart.
Yes. No, this year, this week we sat down because we're way into 2024 on EastEnders at the moment. We get together for story conferences and stuff like this, about 10 of us, and we're now planning the 40th anniversary of EastEnders, which is February 2025, and I basically started when EastEnders started, so it's like nuts. Because it's like 40 years. It just seems like yesterday this thing started. But yeah, I've been on that for about, well, now 38, 39 years, and love it, actually. Really do. Really love it.
It must have changed so much though, because the things that you could write or couldn't write maybe 40 years ago that you can really dig into now.
Yeah. Oddly enough, it might be the opposite, in a way.
Really?
In as much as I think that particular show. Oh, I hope these bosses aren't listening. Right? I really hope they're right. This could be the end of a beautiful.
Don't say anything that you're going to regret.
No, it's all right.
I can't edit to remove things.
I think that the early years of EastEnders, there was more of a license to explore very hard-hitting issues.
Okay.
Which is maybe not as easily available to us today for various reasons. One is the BBC, for better or for worse, is more sensitive about giving offence, if you like. That they are very concerned that stuff is broadcast, which doesn't upset people. And I don't mean you should upset people, but sometimes very hard-hitting dramatic stories inevitably do upset people.
And I suppose the idea is having the right balance, isn't it? Because you can show horrible people as long as you're not glorifying the horrible people. You can show the awful situations as long as you're not, encouraging people to do this. You're showing a fully rounded picture of a scene. And there should be license for it to be upsetting, because things should be uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. I mean, the other way the landscape has changed is that when I started on EastEnders, there were 3 channels. I'm not quite sure. Maybe Channel 4.
I remember Channel 4 starting, and I'm 41. So
yeah. I mean, at that time, it was a much simpler age, in as much as EastEnders was launched, and if you didn't like it, well, there wasn't a lot of choice. You were sort of probably going to come back at some point. That's not to mean I think the early years were very good, but people came back. Now, could you launch a show like EastEnders in a multi-channel world? I just don't know. I just don't know, because EastEnders depends upon an audience loyalty, and an audience is loyal through a series or 2 series of 10 episodes or whatever it may be. I'm not quite sure whether an audience these days will be that loyal through 300 episodes a year or whatever it may be.
I think what would worry me is things like, for example, Netflix, big streamer, some amazing shows on there, fantastic stuff going on. They don't like to keep things going for too long. That's quite the threat as well, isn't it, to writers? To, you've got EastEnders that generations of the same family will watch.
Yeah.
Are we going to have things with that longevity on Netflix or the other streaming services, which are available? We're not advertising Netflix. There's so many different obstacles in the way.
There is, and but it's also I mean, the reason I do enjoy that show is it gives us a chance to do different types of storytelling, which
Yeah.
is what we were talking about with Can I Trust You earlier on, about the different ways of approach. Because I'm fascinated by stories. It's only about all I've ever done. I've never, this is all I've ever done,
Yeah.
and I'm fascinated by different ways of telling stories. And the thing about EastEnders is it gives us a chance to tell stories over such a timescale. I mean, we love what we love on EastEnders. We love planting bombs. So we'll plant a story bomb and we'll plant it and we'll say, right, we'll explode that. And the audience doesn't know it's planted, but we're going to explode that in 2 years.
In 2 years.
Or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
We've just planted a bomb in EastEnders that we want to explode in 21 years' time. Okay? Now, where else can you do that? You know,
amazing.
I mean, where else? Now, whether we're going to be here, whether the show will be here, I hope so, whatever. But I love it's on a show like that. I think that you can get, for better or for worse, you can get that sweep of stories which you can't do in different shows. You can't do on Netflix or Amazon Prime or whatever it may be.
This, I mean, we've got 7 minutes left. This is going to be a question that you're either going to readily have an answer for, or you're going to cut your internet connection. Memorable moments, because you have done and are doing so much. I'd like to know the other things that you're working on at the moment. I'd like to ask you about your other Hobeck book. I'd like to ask you about the heist book that you wrote. I mean, everything's just, I told you I wouldn't really look at my notes other than the one that I wrote down that was a quote, because there's just so much to discuss. But what's memorable for you? What are these important things that stand out for you?
In different shows, you mean, or whatever?
Books, shows, anything at all in your writing career. What are your highlights?
It's difficult. EastEnders, just very, very quickly. I once got an award from the readers of some kind of soap magazine for the most disgusting scene ever seen on British television. Okay.
Which scene was it?
This was Frank Butcher.
Oh yeah.
Stark naked, apart from a revolving bow tie. Okay. And that, as far as ever concerned, was
quite the image.
Great, amazing image, amazing image. So that's memorable. Things like this. It's
I've printed out you won an award in 2015, an outstanding achievement award.
Yes, on EastEnders. Yes, I did. Yes. Apparently, it's available on YouTube. I've never watched it, but yes, apparently, I had to go on stage and make a speech or whatever.
You've never watched it?
No.
Do you remember doing it?
Yes. It's terrifying. It's horrible. I'm not very good at like these sort of award or social situations things. Actually, to be absolute, that was not.
You hide that very well.
That was not one of my memorable moments, Sam. Okay,
fine, carry on. I'll just say hello. Andrew Hoochin is just joining us. We've got about 5 minutes left, Andrew, but you will be able to watch it back. So It's really lovely to see you. Andrew hasn't been able to be around as much, so it's really nice to see him.
Great, thank you. Great, Andrew.
Memorable moments. Continue.
Okay. Obviously, it's so strange actually, because I honestly think in this particular, because I do write across a range of different things, and I love writing the books. I think genuinely, it's got to be fun, whatever you do. Actually, and that sounds strange when you're writing kind of like odd, dark, twisty tales, but it's actually really good fun to do it. And so it's really difficult about memorable moments, because I sort of really enjoy writing the books, obviously, but I really enjoy going into kind of story conferences, and you're sitting there with about 10 other people and you're saying, what do we do next? What's going to happen next Christmas? What do we do about this? What do we do about that? And it's just that is fun, actually. And it's exactly like I was talking about my grandsons earlier on. I watch them. They come to me, and their big thing at the moment is they say, Granddad, they say, just pretend that. And it kind of struck me, that's all I ever do. All I ever do is sit there and I go, just pretend that girl I met on a train, actually my daughter disappeared 20 years before. So just pretend. And I think that to me is a memorable thing about this job, if you like, is you just make it up and have fun.
We have literally got 2 minutes left.
Oh.
I have got 1,000 more questions. You'll have to come back.
Okay.
Right, tell us what you're working on at the moment. So,
there's a new book which is in with the Holbeck parents at the moment, but
excellent.
let's see if they like it. And there's another one which I'm really I'm writing at the moment, which is a very, very different thing. When I say it's set in Berlin in 1945,
Okay.
and it's a period of history I'm fascinated. There is an idea that kind of like wars end and peace begins, and it never happens. And particularly in the case of the Second World War, there was a period between May 45 and August 45 in which the world completely collapsed in Europe. And it's always seemed to me a very, very fruitful period to set a novel where the world is trying to establish new moral order and whatever. So I'm sort of just trying to work my way through that at the moment.
Donna's saying we should just keep going because we don't have lives, right? No, I'm going to save some. There is a question I'm going to ask you once we're not on camera. But Rebecca said, brilliant, she's reading the next book soon, winky face. I want to know everything. Well, no spoilers, but I can't wait. Do you want to give everyone a final recap? Sorry, Donna. Do you want to give everyone a final recap about Can I Trust You and where they can buy it from and anything else that you want to say about it?
Yeah, Can I Trust You? I'm really thank you so much for this opportunity. Honestly, Sam,
You're so welcome. Please come back.
No, honestly, I'm genuinely, I'm really kind of, I'm humbled that you actually asked me on, and I was very nervous about this.
You were, and it didn't show.
Yeah, Can I Trust You? Published by the extraordinary Holbeck Books. And available obviously in direct from publishers, bookshops, Amazon, and it's about the moment when a life changes forever. And I think that actually we've all had, if we haven't had the moment when a life changes forever, we've had the moment when actually you look back and think it could have changed. That actually could have changed, and it could be a relationship, it could be a chance encounter, it could be anything at all, but it plugs into that what if actually that had gone that way. And that's what this book explores, is the moment when life goes that way. And
it is bloody brilliant.
It's
such a fantastic book. I'll drop a link in Beck of Holbeck, would you like to drop a link into the group? Just message me if you'd like to do it instead, because you've got all the links and the images, which would make it easier. Thank you to everyone who's joined us and asked questions and teased us and just been fabulous. Thank you, Rob. I knew this was going to be great, and I've loved every minute talking about it. So thank you so much, and I hope you'll come back.
No, thank you, and thank you everybody who was joined. I really appreciate it. I really, really do.
Go and buy the book.